Hello, welcome, and welcome back to Heretic Owl Tarot. My name is Liz, and I will be guiding you on this journey. So, it's April. These messages really are, kind of whenever you see them, but I do tend to do them at least monthly. So this month we're using the Work Your Light Oracle deck, and then we're using the Wandering Moon Tarot for additional information. We'll get an Oracle card for the overall vibe, and then of course pull 6 tarot cards and see what the vibe is. I have my little bowl here of all of the zodiac, all of the human design profile numbers. I'm just gonna pick one. All right, let's see who's next. We have 4-1. The unicorns themselves. Is that, or the, yeah. I think the 4-1 profile is the rarest profile of them all. It's the only one that has a fixed fate, the only one that has a juxtaposition incarnation cross. So I know if you've seen any of these videos on the human design profile tarot readings, I usually have, a blurb or some sort of content from some source that gives an insight or a perspective into your profile. And this time, I found an article on the Jovian Archive website where a person is giving their perspective of each of the lines. And of course, that would relate to each profile that would have those lines associated with them. And that person is a 2-5 projector. So it would be, the perspective from someone who is a hermit heretic projector. So I'm going to, I'll include the link for that in the description below. Highly recommend checking that out. But the 4th line is the opportunist line. So it has a lot to do with community, with your network. It's the line of friendship, friendliness, being a charmer even. But, your best opportunities are going to be found within your network. So meeting people, finding jobs, selling stuff, right? I mean, definitely put the word out to your network. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have like a trillion best friends, but maybe, people are familiar with you. That's really all that they need to have, is some level of familiarity. And then the 1st line is the investigator. So that line talks about a sense of security coming from knowledge and being able to universalize the knowledge that you have to your community, to your friends, your family, your job, your network, whatever it is. So also with the 4th line, taking a look at your personality sun, which is the first number on the right side, might give you a little bit of insight into, I just lost the words. Give you a little bit of insight into things that you could be investigating. So I'll just kind of leave it there. I'll keep it shortish and sweet. And like I said, definitely check out the article that I'll link in the description. And then of course, your strategy and authority, get really comfortable with that. That'll help you enter into the correct quote unquote experiences for you. And then of course, your profile is how you interact with those experiences. So it will be different for each type. And I'm going to focus on shuffling these cards for now. We're just going to get one oracle card for the overall vibe. Okay. I was going to say, it's interesting because like all of a sudden I felt the need to like close my eyes, but also like turn my head away, which is just kind of interesting. The initiation, rite of passage, crossing the threshold. This has that feeling of like the only way out is in type of vibe. Like you hear that a lot in healing circles because, I mean, truly it's like going within yourself and having to face a lot of, you know, like the shadow and a lot of those things that we try to avoid. Really, that was just kind of the first thing that came to mind, but I am going to get the rest of the cards out and then we'll talk about it further. I mean, it definitely has that vibe of like going through a dark time in order to get through a rite of passage, right? I mean, definitely going through something, but like reaching the destination, and maybe it's even better than expected. We have the 7 of Cups. That's 4. We have the Knight of Wands, 3 of Wands, 2 of Wands, 8 of Cups. How interesting. One more. The Sun. How effing beautiful. We have the Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. And the reason why I was laughing is because as I was shuffling, I was literally thinking about the Queen of Wands. I don't even know why. But then I started thinking, I'm like, I need to stop thinking about the Queen of Wands because I don't want her to come out like just because I'm thinking of her or something, right? So anyway, I think that it's kind of funny that they show up at the bottom of the deck. So I don't know. But let me read from the book on this one. It says, some of the most sacred initiation chambers and temples look scary from the outside, but are breathtakingly beautiful on the inside. This represents the journey that the soul pilgrim is required to take to reach somewhere sacred. But only the initiated can enter. Perhaps that's where you are right now. You are being tested, initiated, because you are headed somewhere sacred. Initiations require that we cross the threshold from one world or state of being to the next. We are called to face what scares us and have to be willing to lose it all in order to gain a new way of being out of safety. Excuse me. Let me read that sentence again. We are all called to face what scares us and have to be willing to lose it all in order to gain a new way of being, of safety, of security, of depth, of meaning. Initiations, like rites of passage, mark the shift from one age to the next and can take place because of emotional turmoil, great loss, grief, or devastation. But it is through the seeming hardship that our heart cracks open and our spirit is invested to step forward. We take the sacred voyage into more of who we are and who we came here to be. It can be painful and scary, but once we begin the journey, we can be more ourselves than ever before. If you are in the middle of an initiation right now, you will get through it, and one day soon you will bless the thing that broke you down and cracked you open because the world needs you open. You are going somewhere sacred. It will be worth it, and you're closer than you think. You know, every time I read out of the book, I'm always so glad that I did, because I don't for every reading. But this is so amazing for this effing reading, because we start with a seven of cups, moons in this deck, and we end with the sun. Are you kidding me? Okay. Let's just start with the seven of cups. So, cups have to do with our emotions, right? Actually, I'm going to back up and talk about this initiation card. You know, I hate the word test. And it's so kind of interesting that even like as I was reading that, I started like getting this feeling. And of course, you know, because I like messed up a few times, it gives you that feeling of like reading in front of the class, right? Like, you know, when you're in school and you had to read in front of the whole class. Hated that. I was worse at it then than I am now. But I just want to say, this is my own personal prejudice, okay? So take it or leave it. I hate when like in spirituality or like whatever, I hate when people use the word test. Because I think too, and like I said, this is a personal prejudice, this is me projecting. I fucking hate tests. I just, you know, there's so many people that just are not good test takers. And when you start presenting something in the way of like you're being tested and it's like a pass fail thing, it's like, you know, then you start creating like unnecessary anxiety around a thing. Like, oh my gosh, if I don't make the right decision, something is ruined, or it's not going to work, or I'm not manifesting correctly, or, you know, whatever the hell, right? So it's just interesting that that's coming out. And like I said, even, you know, feeling that old school feeling of like reading in front of the class. And I'm only mentioning that because it mentioned that's like the one word out of all of that text that I'm picking out is test. But it's more like we are constantly faced with opportunities to choose differently. And regardless of how that goes, right? I mean, like, you are going to get wherever you are going, regardless. So don't even worry about even like with a card like initiation, right? I mean, like, there's no pass or fail with it. But if this card is showing up in this reading, it seems like, and even the cards that are on the table, it seems like this is already an energy that you are walking through. And clearly, even with the initiation card, there is this sense that you are at the end of one journey, or at least the pinnacle of it, because the light at the end of the tunnel is like right there. It's not just like a pinhole anymore, right? Okay, so going back to the Seven of Cups. Cups having to do with our emotions, right? Like how we feel about things, how we feel about ourselves. Of course, the heart center is in there. Love, you know, I mean, of course, love can be romantic. It could be expressed to somebody else. But again, it's like, you know, what are the things in my life that I love doing? What brings me joy? What brings me bliss? And with the Seven of Cups, there's a few different things. Like, it's either there are different options presented to you, and, you know, it's like weighing those options. How do I feel? It's the Marie Kondo effect, right? Like, keep the things that make you feel good and release the things that don't. So you could be in this period, or have been in a period of going through the cups available to you and seeing if there's any energy left in those cups, because doing so, and I know like I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but it's recognizing, like, you know, did I use the energy of this relationship up already? like for the purpose that it was in my life, has that energy been used and expelled, and it served its purpose and there's nothing left there anymore? Or I mean, even like a piece of clothing or a blanket or even a piece of furniture or something. It's like going through things and is this just taking up space, or is this giving me some sort of energy, But also there's a feeling of like with the Seven of Cups, it's a bit daydreamy too. Like you could be considering all of the options that you have available or could be available. And on the lower side of it, it's like getting lost in options, feeling, like overwhelmed, a bit indecisive too, like not knowing what to keep or what to choose or even what to let go of. Either way, there's definitely more than one thing on the table. It doesn't have to be 7. Like, it doesn't have to be that many, but there are certainly, with it showing up, there are certainly different things that you are considering. And especially with it being paired with the Two of Wands. And clearly my neighbor's dogs, if you can hear them, are in agreement because they're freaking out. Oh my gosh, my dog is about to start freaking out. Okay, maybe we're okay. So especially with it paired with the Two of Wands, because the Two of Wands is the card of planning for the future. I meant to move these up a little bit before. So hopefully they're still in. Anyway, so we start with the Ace of Wands, which I know is not like on the table, but we start with the Ace of Wands, and that's like that spark, right? Like something new shows up in our orbit, in our awareness, and it gives us energy, right? Like it's something creative, it's something passionate, it's something that we want to take actions towards. And then the Two of Wands is like, okay, like what am I going to do with this newfound excitement? Like what actions am I going to take towards a thing? How am I going to communicate these things? Because that's what wands are. It's about the actions that we take. It's about communication. That's also about information, because that's what we get by trying things. Is we learn what we like, we learn what we don't like, we learn what works, we learn what doesn't. And that's why I'm like obsessed that these two are paired together, because there's almost even like a feeling of needing to go through those things in order to plan for the future. There's also this feeling of like an energy exchange going on here. And speaking of energy exchange, before I forget, because I will and I have, I would love it and be so grateful if you would like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji. I love emojis, but my energy is focused on growing this channel, and it would really help me a lot, and I would really appreciate it. So let's talk about you again. Otherwise, I would have to insert some like random like voiceover at some point in the video, because I will have forgotten. That's what I've done with a lot of the other ones. So, because, like there's these two hands coming in here, and they are two different hands. So there could be two people involved. This is the only card that has seemingly two people on it. So there could be somebody else involved in this planning, or whatever this Seven of Cups is to you. But like I said, there is this energy of, or this feeling of an energy exchange going on with this Two of Wands. It could even just be information exchange. And that's why I was saying, like at the beginning with the fourth line, your best opportunities are going to be found within your network, within your friend group. Even if it's just like putting the word out, hey, if you hear something about whatever it is that I'm looking for, let me know, or link me up with that person or something, right? And then the Knight of Wands, again with the wands, we have all fire and water on this on this table, which is really pretty interesting too. Because it's like literally hot and cold energy. It's almost like, do you take a couple steps forward and stop yourself, or, like you feel motivated, but then get overwhelmed emotionally? I'm just curious. And also, too, I like made this distinction in one of the other videos that these two energies together create steam, pretty much, right? Because if you put out a fire with water, there's steam or like smoke. And like using the steam analogy, like, steam is really good for exfoliating. I'm thinking facials. Or, like taking wrinkles out, or, but too much of it can also burn, because steam is basically just, it's heated water, right? So I don't know, like that's really kind of interesting. I'm curious if you have been feeling something along those lines. Maybe you have a lot of fire and water in your chart. I mean, you could be a water sign, you could be a fire sign. Maybe those are elements that are not very heavy in your chart too. I mean, honestly, it could go any effing way. But the Knight of Wands, again with the wands, right? I mean, everything that we talked about, like action, communication. This would be somebody who is already like in midst of taking action, though. Like they're already trying things, because the Knight of Wands is adventurous. I mean, maybe even a little bit impulsive, but there's like a playful energy to it, wanting to have fun, like wanting to even create fun. And I'm also even like getting this feeling of like wanting to like create. It's like you want the people around you to feel good. I don't know where that's coming from, but it's in there. And I also love that there's this feather with this wand, because that just makes me think about like saging, and how you use a feather to oh my gosh. Why do I keep losing my words with this reading too? But you'll use a feather to like oh my gosh, fan a flame so that your sage stays lit, basically, right? And even that is creating smoke. That's really kind of interesting. But there's almost like they're having something around you to like stay motivated, like fanning your own flame. That's interesting. And then the Eight of Moons. And that's what's just kind of, we have this progression from the 7 to the 8. We have the 2 and the 3 out here. We have the Knight and the Queen. So there's like, if synchronicity is a thing for you, there's plenty of it on this table. And it is, like we go from the 7 to the 8. We go from the 2 to the 3. We go from the Knight to the Queen. So there's clearly like some level of progression, like you are making progress clearly with this initiation card out here. So the Eight of Cups talks about walking away from what is no longer serving you. It's knowing when it's time to abandon a thing, an idea, a feeling. I mean, this is literally coming after the 7 of Cups, right? So you've already gone through the process of going through all of those cups, and You've taken, you have what you need out of those cups. And, we have this signpost on here. And it's like, this is the point where you make that decision. This is like gearing up for that decision. This is the point of making that decision. And not only that, but obviously the card that comes after the Eight of Cups is the Nine of Cups. And that's a card of wish fulfillment. So it's not just leaving behind something or like abandoning, this is making a decision that you are moving towards your wish fulfillment, choosing yourself, basically. And not, in a selfish way by any means. There's definitely a difference between being selfish and choosing yourself. But also, with your profile, you are fixed. You should not be influenced by outside forces. You certainly can be, but I would bet money that that doesn't feel good for you. And then we have the Three of Wands, which is, so over here we're planning, we're deciding what steps we're going to take. This is actually moving forward with the Three of Wands. And I also kind of love how this, it could be a path starting from the bottom going to the top, but with the Sun card being underneath it. I'm so sorry. My words, I don't know where they went. But we could even see this as being, this is the start of the path and the end is the sun. Not to mention, walking through this gateway here, threshold is what they call it, is all of this vibrant color. And even on the Sun card, and I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but even on the Sun card, it looks like this is a brick wall and there's this hole in it. So we kind of have this, like I said, another synchronicity between, this threshold and this threshold. I mean, this is like really trying to find yourself, because like I said, this is the only card that has seemingly two different people on it. Everything else is singular. Even the Queen of Wands. And I know we're getting ahead. And maybe that's okay, right? I mean, clearly going from the Eight of Cups to the Three of Wands, it's like, making a decision to step foot on that path, making the decision to move forward on something. And it's like the goal or the destination would be the sun, which is everything good. It's joy, it's bliss. It's like, the happiest card on the deck. It's rejuvenation, because, we can't live without the sun. And then the Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Queens to me are when we recognize the energy of the suit within ourselves. So, this would be feeling confident about yourself, exploring your creativity, exploring your passions, your desires, allowing yourself to do that. The Four of Wands, this is literally about community. But this is people coming together to celebrate accomplishments. It's reaching a place of stability and having a firm foundation. There's obviously the circle element here, so that always makes me feel like community. If you've ever been involved in circles and drum circles or something along those lines. And then we have the Tower card, and then the Lovers, and then the Nine of Wands. Okay. Because this feels like to me that the community that maybe you have been involved with is going to change based on this journey, this rite of passage, which can be really effing scary. It can be really exciting too. But the Tower talks about sudden upheaval, and the Tower is only going to take out what no longer serves, which again, we talked about that with the Eight of Cups. And with the Lovers card, it could be a relationship. It could even be codependency to a certain degree. That word is coming to mind. The Lovers card also talks about making a decision. It's understanding that you have choices, which is very much the Seven of Cups too. But also there's the understanding about the balance of the masculine and feminine energies, not gender, but the masculine initiation, initiating things, going for stuff, giving, right? And then the feminine energy of receiving and being in the flow and intuition, nurture, right? The Nine of Wands talks about the wounded warrior feeling a bit beat up by life. This is also individual completion with it being a 9. So this is saying sure, this process, whatever this is here at the bottom of the deck, this could feel like an ass kicking, right? For lack of a better word. But the message with the Nine of Wands is, to take a break, but don't give up. Rest, but don't give up. And then we have the High Priestess. I'm laughing because behind the High Priestess is the King of Wands. But so then we have the High Priestess, which to me, I see the High Priestess as our direct connection to our star player. This is being in alignment with yourself. This is intuition. So, whatever it is that's happening in this whole process, it is bringing you closer to yourself. It is bringing you closer to alignment. It's just, it doesn't feel good sometimes. I've had that happen a few times, but I'm also a 5th line on the personality side. But I've had it happen a few times where, friend groups change. If you are outgrowing somebody or somebodies, there's nothing wrong with, allowing yourself to move on and to find people who are more on your level, because that also helps you level up. And then, like I said, we have the King of Wands behind the High Priestess. So it's interesting that we start with the Queen of Wands, and then there's all this stuff in the middle here, and then it that quickly brings you to the King of Wands, which is the highest expression of the suit. This is getting to a place where you've mastered it within yourself, and now you're able to share with other people, which is very much about your profile, right? There could be some sort of divine partnership here too, because we have this Lovers card. If you're in a relationship that is just no longer serving you, you may see that start to change. And the reason for that change is so that somebody who is more in alignment with you can have the space to come in. And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon. Bye.